flashes.
They're saying possible tornado on the ground with power flashes, 5 points in Bonnertown area. This is from...
There's the power flash.
Tennessee Valley Authority. I see maybe a little lowering there, sort of in the middle of the screen. Do you folks see that at home when the lightning flashes? A couple of little lowerings, but you've seen power flashes, huh?
I thought I just saw one.
Wow, well, it's certainly a busy setup there. I don't know if that's a tail cloud on the right side of the screen there, sort of jetting out to the left part of the screen. We're looking at Giles County right now, where there could be a tornado not far from Minor Hill. So far southern Middle Tennessee.
There's the tornado warning that was just issued for it, too.
Okay.
Oh, wrong mouse.
Giles and Lawrence County, new tornado warning. Meanwhile, Davidson and Sumner and parts of Wilson County, we have a tornado warning that remains in effect. In the Madison area, moving toward Hendersonville. We'll get you updated on that storm. The rotation here, is this still out of high top?
Yes.
Is phenomenal. So this rotation is it's not really gate to gate, but it's very intense rotation in the lower part of the atmosphere down there with that cell. There it is right there.
Let's see if the debris detector's gotten any better. Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. When we're looking at debris detector, we're looking for cool colors like, blues and greens matched up perfectly with the peak rotation. So we didn't see that there. We just saw sort of a messy yellow sea of maybe some red and warmer colors, not cooler colors. But this is where it would be, just west of Minor Hill. So Loretto, you don't need to be in your safe spot. Minor Hill, you do. Pulaski, you do. It's going to get to 65 in time. Definitely a very powerful storm in southern parts of the area. Can we get an update on Hendersonville?
Yes.
Let's see if we got a new scan there. Old Hickory, Hermitage. There was one nasty little scan that we had around there, and so that prompted the tornado warning that showed a lot of rotation. Now it's right over the radar
site.
I was
going to say, I think that's your problem, is you're sitting directly over the radar.
Yeah. And like we said before, this is in effect, this tornado warning, until 11:30 p.m. Sometimes in environments like tonight, you get a tornado that lasts 20 seconds. And so if you see it one scan, you don't see it the next, it doesn't mean it was fake. It just means that it's gone. It's gone for the time being. So, but the tornado warning remains in effect for Gallatin, Castellian Springs, Legardo, north of Mount Juliet, Hendersonville, north side of Hermitage, and back toward Madison. Although Madison, if you're right in downtown Madison, Inglewood, you're in the clear. This could be trimmed. The Weather Service is way too busy to do that, and they could pull out Madison and Inglewood, but they won't because they just don't have time for that. So we'll just tell you right now, Madison, Inglewood, you're in the clear. But over in Hendersonville, you're not, certainly not. Hermitage, Mount Juliet, and certainly not east of this as it's moving this way up toward Gallatin, Castellian Springs, and so on and so forth. Downtown Nashville, severe threat is done. Dixon County, definitely so. Franklin, severe threat is done. It's all shifted east of you. So it's Nolensville down through Spring Hill and Thompson Station. We're still watching you down here. And then farther south, Murray County, Marshall County. It's been quiet all night. Chapel Hill, Lewisburg. This is not going to get Chapel Hill. This is going to pass north of them.
Yeah.
What do you got?
There's tornado damage over the state line in Alabama from that cell.
Okay. Storm chasers in northern Alabama see tornado damage from this cell here.
I'm going to go back to this one, high top, for a second.
Yeah. And that definitely looks like the strongest. This could be the strongest one we've seen all night. It's possible. Right on the Lawrence-Giles County line for that peak rotation now. Right here. West side, northwest side of Minor Hill. Lifting up through here. So crossing 31 in time, 64, eventually getting to 65 as it lifts toward the northeast. One of the signs that this is just super powerful is all the lightning. The whole thing is saturated with lightning. This is the core of the storm, and it's a big core. And so just south of the state line, back toward Lexington and Anderson, somewhere probably between the two, some storm chasers reported some damage.
And
so,
by the way, whatever's in there is probably rain wrapped too.
Yeah,
more likely than not.
Yeah, certainly could be right here in the rain. Yep. So Pulaski, be hunkered down. Lowest, most interior room of your house. If you have a basement, good for you. If you have a storm shelter, get there now. Protect your body from flying debris. Most of us don't, so it's the smallest, most interior room. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Sometimes you've got a bathroom and there's a set of walls around that, and then there's the outer walls. You may even have a third set of walls before you get to the outside of the house. So you want to put as many layers of protection between you and the storm as possible. That's why we say the most interior room. Never upstairs, always downstairs if you have a multiple story home. Never the attic, never the garage. The garage doors fail often. If it's a legit tornado, those can be blown in. And then you think about all the shovels and rakes and whatever in the garage blowing around. That would be terrible. So never seek refuge in a garage. Never go to the crawl space. None of that is safe. Use pillows and blankets. Cover your body, your head from flying debris. And it's not fun to think about, but you get abandoned cars and mobile homes. If you are stuck in traffic and a tornado is coming along and you can see it's going to just bisect the road that you're on and probably hit your vehicle, you're more safe to evacuate that car and go lay face down in a ditch than you are to stay in that, because there's a chance any tornado could loft a vehicle or a mobile home. So that's why we say that.
This tornado warning out of Davidson.
Okay, Davidson.
Just Sumner and Wilson now.
Just right here. So it looks like it's even getting out of Old Hickory. It's in mainly Wilson, right?
Yeah, if there's rotation, it's got to be down in Wilson.
Yeah, Lagardo.
It's probably going south of Gallatin, Castellian Springs. It's sitting on top of the radar. It's so hard to tell. Yeah.
Going to do that. 231. Then get up toward Macon County, Red Boiling Springs. Macon County been pretty sleepy all night. Trousdale County, Hartsville, no stranger to severe weather. Not much happening all night.
I think if there was something there, we would know about it because it's right on top of the National Weather Service.
Yeah.
Too. So I think we would have much more of a confirmation there. But
Tornado
looks like
possible. Okay, so the new severe thunderstorm warning. 6,500 homes without power in Murray County. Damage to homes reported, P and marble size. Well, we never want to use marble as a as a hail size comparison because marbles vary in size. It's sort of like saying rock size. You know, rocks are all different sizes, but P, and probably my guess is like a little larger than P size, maybe dime size in Murray County, but 6,500 customers without power. There's a lot more people, but just the customers.
It's this right
Nasty
here, right?
cell right there. What's that?
No, I was going to say it's this cell right here in Columbia.
Yeah, that caused the that likely caused a lot of the power outages and the hail. So it's good to know that this is worth P to maybe dime size, what we're tracking there.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to see that there's no hail track on that cell.
Let me go back there for you. Hang on.
All right. We're going to let the Weather Service is going to let the tornado warning in Sumner and Wilson counties ride for a little bit. Even though that the tornado signature is going away or it's trending downward, it's not gone. The Weather Service is going to just let that sit so they don't have to, if they see it pulse back up, reissue. But right now it looks pretty favorable, or more favorable than it did. At least I want to say that.
Back on high top for this morning.
You know, tough to tell what we have for rotation now. There's definitely some, if we're in high top, we have some inbounds, some outbounds, the reds and the greens probably in through there.
It's got to be pretty close.
Or is it due south? Where is that radar side? Is it behind me?
It's southeast. Yeah, it's behind you.
Okay. So yeah, so something like this.
Probably looking north of Minor Hill.
Okay. We are seeing tornado, Giles County. Okay, 11:45 is when this. So Lawrence County has just been canceled. That's what I was reading there. Lawrence County is out of this now. The tornado warning, the red polygon is just for Giles County. The tornado warning is just for Giles County. So Loretto, if you're in your safe spot anywhere along 43 in Lawrence County, you can come out. Even though there's still rain, lightning and thunder, the rotation area is now east-northeast of Minor Hill. So it's clearly and safely in Giles County and moving right down the heart of this tornado warning. So next in line, Lincoln County, if you can get there, southern Marshall County, you haven't had a whole lot tonight. We're going to have to watch you. Are we warning up and down the line still? Is the severe thunderstorm warning from top to bottom, or are they more?
It's the southern extent of it now, so it's mostly south of 40. All you have left, well, at least out ahead, if you know what I mean. You know, you're out to Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
You're getting out to Cannon County, Coffee counties, but they haven't extended the warning in the northern part of the line any farther east. So it seems like they're just focused more on the southern extent right now.
Okay, all right. And this is a monstrous severe thunderstorm warning. I don't know if that's 6 counties big. So that the Weather Service is essentially saying, let me just save us some work and save you the wondering of whether or not we'll have a severe chance. Yes, in Murfreesboro, severe thunderstorm warning. Yes, in Smyrna and Laverne. Yes to all of you in Marshall, all of you in Bedford, all of you in Coffee, all of you in Cannon County. You're going to get at least some of this and have that chance of the downpours causing some power outages. I wonder where we are with NES. This thing has traversed Davidson County. And so the worst of the weather is completely done. Nashville, Davidson County, completely done with severe weather tonight. 2,500 outages, more than 2,500. That's not too bad. What did we have during the ice storm? Like 240,000 or something crazy?
Close to 3, I think, at one point.
Yeah. So thank goodness for that, because we obviously have power outage fatigue, but that is the latest. So good.
And you still have some lightning strikes behind all that, too. So if you are, if you're going out to assess things, you still got to be careful with those strikes that are back there. But look at this little Bode segment here now.
Oh, wow. That's Chapel Hill, and that's Eagleville.
I mean, that really just...
That's the best bow of tonight. Here's Franklin Road again. We've talked about you a bunch tonight.
Let's see what the velocity is there.
So Stefano's looking under the hood, so to speak, at what he sees within the storm for wind speeds. And
it's 48, but if that just started bowing, give it another scan or two, you should probably start to see some higher winds out ahead of it. Well, this is probably what you're looking at, actually.
Are you at high top here?
No, we're at OHX.
OHX, okay. Interesting.
But if it is bowing the way it is, you get some good winds out ahead of that before it comes through. But I think with another scan, you'll see it catch up.
Yeah. This is the bow he's talking about. So anytime you see sort of looks like a bow and arrow, that means there's more energy pushing the bow out, the apex of the bow. And so there at the bow, you have the best chance of damaging wind. And so the downdraft's really taken over temporarily. And it could be forced. It could be forced from the jet stream winds that just find a path down, and they're constantly being fed. That's how these bows don't just exhaust themselves, but they continue to move along, because it's the jet stream winds that are just being cast down to the ground, and there's an endless supply, at least locally and in the short-term sense, of that jet stream wind flow. And so it just continues to bow out. So we may see that. But he tracked at Forest High School, Chapel Hill, 11:15. It's 11:10, a couple minutes. Eagleville High School, there you are in Rutherford County, 11:22. And in Newtown, almost at 11:30, right here. This, if it holds together, will get Murfreesboro. So Murfreesboro hasn't had a whole lot to focus on tonight, and so we'll have to watch that. It's going to go right across 24. And so anybody going this way, the big rig, there's a lot of tractor trailers coming out of Atlanta, whatever, Chattanooga, headed up toward maybe St. Louis. Hopefully they time it well and they don't get into the middle of that mess. So I wonder how soon that ground stop will be lifted. Things have really quieted down here in Davidson County. still some lightning out there.
Yeah, it's got to be.
We'll have to keep our eyes on that.
But the worst of it's way gone. So BNA's got to start, I guess, kind of getting back to operations as usual. Looks like there's a tree down in Lawrence County.
Okay.
Holloway Road near Bonnertown in southeast Lawrence County. Which is interesting because that came off of this tornado warning storm, more likely than not, if it was southeast Lawrence County.
Southeast Lawrence, yeah, absolutely. You and I started doing cut-ins around 8, I think.
I think so.
Here we are coming up at still some rotation here, if it's right in through here. Okay, so they may have lifted the ground stop then. We're not seeing it listed on the FAA site, so, back to maybe getting in some airplanes at Nashville International. So we've been doing updates since 3 hours and 45 minutes ago, and the storms are getting to I-65. Some, farther north, it's crossed I-65. What that shows is that 1 o'clock in the morning is probably too early for a storm arrival time for the Cumberland Plateau. It's probably more like 2 in the morning. Now, the severe thunderstorm warnings, a tornado warning, if we still have one, very likely by 1 in the morning. But the storm line itself, I know we said this is going to accelerate through the overnight. I don't think we're out of the woods until at least 2. It may be
it's going to
2:30, 2:45.
It's going to have to clear the plateau. The plateau hasn't been touched all night, so.
Yeah. And Cumberland County has the most available area to go. Jamestown as well.
I've been wanting to do this with this. I want to get rid of some of the background just so we can identify. I mean, I just think it gives a better look at. There's that main line.
Yeah.
That's your big wind producer. That's where your lightning, your hail, your spin up could be too. So that kind of, I think, just narrows it down maybe a little bit more for us.
Oh yeah. And there are 3 storm clusters that look the most intense. 1, there's 2, and then 3 with the tornado warning.
But you're right. Notice that they've extended all these severe thunderstorm warnings, way out.
Yeah.
Ahead of these storms. I mean, you're talking, if these storms are, we'll take Gallatin as an example here, you're out 30 miles, 35 miles out. Yeah. Farther to the south, you're out 45 miles, these warnings, because these storms, I mean, they may pulsate, but they certainly don't weaken all the way.
No.
That's a pretty nasty, where's that?
40 at 840?
Yeah.
Okay, so mile marker 235. So right here. Oh, right. Nice job pulling that up. Thank you for finding that. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
In the sweet spot. Where is it? Ooh, that's good. All right, and so that wind, again, lucky for these big rig drivers that the wind is, for some of them right into the front or right behind them as a tailwind. It's not crossing. It's not a crosswind that could really get a hold of them and blow them over.
And it looks like that we're getting more reports of trees down in Bonnertown. That's southeast Lawrence County. But they say that the emergency management says they can't access the areas because there's so many trees down.
Oh, wow.
But I kind of want to go back and I want to take a look at that storm again, because that was the one that was warned through the county. I don't even know if we can zoom in enough to get, well, there's the southeast. So you go back, what, Dan, 30 minutes, 45?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to switch back to high top.
And as Stefano does that, Weather Service comments that they're watching Marshall and Rutherford for potential rotation. So that's where we said before Rutherford, Murfreesboro may get a piece of a big storm.
So this would be...
Is that Bonnertown? See if Bonnertown populates anywhere.
That's what I was looking for. Oh, here we go.
You see it?
No, it's got to be close, though.
There it is. Lower right.
Oh, right there. Okay. Way at the border. Okay, I didn't know Bonnertown was that far south.
Interesting. All right, and so that's a high top radar, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. You can see right here is the circulation. Wow. So that scooted right along the state line road.
And this is now. So I mean, so obviously it's gone. It's gone now, but there's a lot of This is the only tornado warning left for the time being. They just canceled the one for Sumner and Wilson.
Uh-huh. Good, because that was that didn't look too good after that first scan.
This looks like it's kind of getting a little bit more of a hail core to it as well, right here.
Yeah, no question.
It's close enough to high top 2 that I think, you know, you're probably half an inch at least, maybe not quite to an inch.
Sure.
There's an entrapment reported on Rabbit Trail Road. They're not, well, it says person, vehicle pinned under a tree. So
goodness gracious. What county is that?
That's Lawrence County still. That's their EMA. But I think that it's all clustered in the same area we were just looking at. So
right. And all that may get Shelbyville in time. There's Shelby. So Bedford County, all right, if the rotation is somewhere in through here, keeps doing this, you know, could get up into Shelbyville. I think Wartrace, if I remember right, is a little farther north. We'll have to check that in time. But either way, Bedford County, probably northern Coffee, southern Cannon, northern Warren, and then eventually we get into Van Buren and I guess Cumberland counties. Yeah,
it looks like.
Look at this. So now Franklin County has a severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, I was just saying Lincoln, Moore, and Franklin, it's probably going to take a little while to get there because it's all this down here that's in northern Alabama right now that still has to work its way in. So that's to your point, Dan. You know, if this had a little bit more of, if it was moving more due east on its own, this would be moving through a lot quicker.
Yeah.
But now it's got so much more of a northeast track to it that it's kind of starting to crawl a little bit across the rest of the area.
Yep. And it's not helping that the deeper into the night we go, the winds become more unidirectional. So there's little east-west push, or west-east push.
And if you kind of look, the whole line itself, let me stop this from.
And what it does, Stefano, is also increases the flood threat.
Yes.
Not that we have a great flooding concern, but our eastern counties may have more rain when it's all said and done than our western counties just because of the wind changing. All right.
It looks like a continuation of the tornado warning.
Okay.
That's in Giles. That's what we were just looking at. If you look at the line itself, it's gotten organized again. You know, it's almost pulsated a little bit, but it's got a little bit of a bow to it itself, the whole line. So the wind, like you've said, I mean, the wind is picking up, you know, aloft in the atmosphere. Those, you know, as it rotates down, fires out behind it all.
Look at Lebanon. So that's 40 at 840. So east of Nashville, mile marker 235. And so it is just past. It's still coming down. It's still poor conditions there. But is it 231? Where is 840? Here's Interstate 40. Is it right there? I think that's 840. So you can see the visibility is starting to improve. Goes down through Gladeville. That's it. So the western side of Lebanon, the weather's improving. Eastern side of Lebanon, it's just really starting to head downhill. And it's going to roll along. Bellwood, rain's going to pick up here shortly. Watertown, a little light rain right now. There's nothing going on. 231, it is coming down once you get down farther south and then eventually down into Rutherford County. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect until midnight. Western side of Lebanon improving. Hunters Point, farther north and northern parts of Wilson County. I think you were just to the east of that tornado warning before. You might have been in it. Anyway, that's done. This tornado warning we had before is long gone. Now Southern Kentucky. So clear in Southern Kentucky is Callaway, Trigg, Christian. Then we have Todd, Logan, Simpson, half of Allen County. So Simpson's done, half of Allen County. I say half of it because it looks like right over Scottsville is the storm. So west of there, you're good. East of there, toward Tompkinsville and Monroe County, still weather concerns. Lafayette, Red Boiling Springs, all this is starting to work in. And then we get to Clay County, Salina, Burkesville, Clinton County, Albany in time. Here is a view. Is that Rutherford County? What are we looking at there? Murfreesboro. Okay. So one of the street cameras And Murfreesboro, ooh, that's a good one. Fortress, that's good. So this is your time, Murfreesboro, for the next 30 minutes or so. It is going to get uglier and uglier. It's just rain, but it's no fun if you're driving through it. Could be some stronger winds coming in that will impact you. And so here's 840, so south side of 840, down 41, but it should get right over Murfreesboro proper. Las Casas as it rolls to the east. Christiana, southern parts of Rutherford, you'll get into this. Chapel Hill already got it in northern Marshall County. And then eventually all of us there in Cannon County to get the side of the house washed, the western side of the house. We get a good washing, a good soaking. All the trees, all the grass, all the weeds are going to soak all this up. So that's springtime for you in Middle Tennessee, the wettest time of year, March, April, May. You look at the way it all, scans out statistically for Davidson County, for Nashville, and you see the trend of the rain going up March, April, May, and then coming back down, still elevated over the summer, then it really comes down over the fall. We're in the wettest time of year. And sometimes we can get rounds of storms after rounds of storms. So if you get an inch or two here, then you get an inch or two here, by the end of the month, you could have 6 to 8 inches of rain. Then you get into some flooding concerns, but it sets the table for a lower drought threat during the summer. When you just fill up those streams and rivers, that certainly helps. The water resources, that certainly helps for drinking water. Okay, so the NES number is now up to 3,000 for power outages. That's a lot better. In Nashville, that's, it's way better than the ice storm. It's more than we had 20 minutes ago, but I think 20 minutes ago we had the lower 2,000. So 3,000, if you have no power, that's a problem. But when you're talking about the masses, that's not nearly as big of a problem as we had and with the ice storm. And that was, goodness, coming up on 7 weeks ago or so. Did you know the first day of spring is Friday? It has felt like spring for about 3 weeks, maybe more. First day of spring is Friday, and that is the peak of severe weather season, spring. End of March, all of April. April is typically our most active month. May can go one of two ways. May can be totally nasty for severe weather, or it can pivot to hot quickly and dry out. So we had that about 19 years ago or so. I think a drought started in May, and so that can happen here in the mid-state. Here's Fayetteville. You see something?
They were just repeating the same storm reports. The trees down near Minor Hill, all those just from this cell that went through. But it looks like that rotation is really falling apart.
What would it be, right here?
If there, I mean, there's.
Oh wow, that's terrific.
It's pretty much gone.
Good. So it's just a sliver of a tornado warning anyway for 20 more minutes, so we'll see what happens. It's about to get out of the county. And then the Weather Service in Huntsville has put, so this is by the Weather Service in Nashville. This is by the Weather Service in Huntsville. This is where the territory changes. In Huntsville, it said, hey, we're going to do a severe thunderstorm warning as opposed to a tornado warning, at least for now with this. And that's the orange polygon indicative of that. Quiet in Manchester, we get some good, we got a great Tullahoma camera that we'll have to use in time as this moves across. And we don't need it yet, but in time that'll be a good one. How are the Murfreesboro cameras doing? They gotta be real good right now. Nasty. It's sitting right on top. Right? Let me switch. I-24, where's 840? So I-24, 840 is not so, I don't know if it's down at Fortress or up at Fort, I forget which way Fortress is. Salem Pike, it may be down at Salem Pike, could be a good one at I-24 and T-Dot. But there's Almaville, Las Casas, Kittrell, eventually into northern Cannon County, Auburntown. Moves along after that. There's 145. We don't mention 145 all that much. We'll get to 145 in time. And it is just a sea of rain. 24 at 840, so this is where we're looking right here. So the heaviest rain is about to turn off. But it's still, it's terrible for people driving. You can still see it's very windswept. Yeah, oh, absolutely. So the rain's falling. You got the road spray. You want to increase your distance between your vehicle and the vehicle in the front for obvious reasons. When you drive, it just messes. Even if it's been drizzling and there's a little dampness on the road, if you're following a big rig truck, an 18-wheeler, it is just so frustrating, difficult to see. So you just really increase that distance, let the people in a hurry pass you, and you'll be a lot safer for it.
So we had a thunderstorm wind damage report from Hermitage in Davidson County. It was a tree down in a backyard on Donaldson Pike.
Okay.
And that's, I think, this storm that just went into Lebanon.
Okay. All right.
It's probably the biggest lightning density we have now. It's probably either that one or it's the one that's still in Giles County. That's
sort of diminishing some?
Yeah.
Yeah, noisy storm in Lebanon, no question. Next in line, Carthage. You know, I don't know if you ever noticed as you go east on Interstate 40, you cross the Caney Fork like 4 or 5 times. And so that's the territory we're getting into here as we go in this direction. So right in through here, Carthage, Gordonsville, here's Interstate 40. So here's where the intersections would be of the river, and it's all going to roll right there. Carthage 1143, Smith County High School 1144, in the community of Defeated at 1146, right here. Riddleton, Flat Rock.
Just canceled the tornado warning for Giles County.
Good. So no tornado warnings. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings, probably it looks like from Kentucky all the way down the line.
Yeah, I'll take it back out for the full.
And what that means is in the next hour or so, maybe hour and 15 minutes, we'll know whether every county in our area will have had a warning tonight or not. Because so far, every county has. I think. Callaway, I think even had a warning. They did.
Yeah.
So that'll be every single county. And that happens sometimes. Big line
like this, yeah, it very easily can happen.
Yeah. What happens when we turn on the LSR button, this local storm report button?
Let me see. I'm so curious too. I've been thinking about it the last.
Okay. Bunch of hail reports, bunch of W's. And then what happens when we broaden out and look at the whole? Okay. So this is, I don't remember, but I think this is set for the last 48 hours.
Yes, it is.
48. Okay. This is ridiculous. And tomorrow, if you know anybody here.
Actually, this is 24 hours.
24 hours. Tomorrow from the mid-Atlantic, so Washington, D.C. down to South Carolina, does a level 4 threat for severe weather. Level 4 chance of severe weather. We call that a moderate threat for severe weather on the eastern seaboard. So all the way from southern Canada to the Gulf Coast, there'll be a chance of severe weather, but it's really, if you know anybody traveling tomorrow, has the best chance in through here in the mountains, the Appalachians, and so all these W's will repopulate tomorrow. And then some H's and maybe some red T's indicating the tornado warning.
Now I can, if you want, I can change the, you want to see 12 hours?
Sure.
Let me see. It's no different.
It's all in the last 12 hours.
It's all in the last 12 hours, so it's no different. I can do, here's the last 6, and it's still no different. Okay, all right, well that was fun. Okay. Let's depopulate these. Now I'm curious, Dan, I want to go back and take a look at our temperatures. That's a pretty big difference. So this is kind of what we were talking about. And, you know, even though you're clear of the severe weather threat now, I don't want it to get lost that we have a lot of cold air coming in on the backside of all of this. So let me step off for just a second here so I can give you an idea of those temperatures elsewhere. We have Lewisburg at 71, Tullahoma's at 72. Temperatures now dropping very rapidly in Nashville. We're at 58, but the 40s are not all that far off. So, I mean, you're about a 15-degree temperature difference easily between Lebanon and Nashville. So that's that cold air moving in on the back side of this. You can actually see where that front is right now because we have the wind that's on here as well. So there's that wind direction, the colder air coming in on the back side of it. You still have that south wind that's out ahead of the storm where it looks like everything converges into one and almost goes straight north to south, that would be where our front is. So this is kind of why we're still overly concerned about areas that are in the Cumberland Plateau. There's still a lot of energy in the atmosphere here. As you get toward the higher elevations of Cookeville and Crossville, the temperatures drop, and that's just simply because we're up higher at elevation. So that's the big thing. Now, something I can do, and I wonder how good this will actually look. It's okay. It's not the best, but there's your front, and there's the colder air on the back side of it. So I just wanted to see if that was ever going to line up with itself, and it did an okay job. But we still have this big line of storms right now that are moving into the Cumberland Plateau. So it has been very, very quiet here as we go to Cookeville, Jamestown, Crossville, McMinnville. We get into parts of DeKalb County or in Warren County, White, Putnam County, into Jackson, Overton, Pickett counties. There's not a whole lot we've talked about, but even the National Weather Service says that even though we're now tornado free, there's still a very solid line of thunderstorms that can produce some damaging wind gusts, very heavy rainfall. There could be some hail, but you still can't rule out a spin-up tornado. There's actually a very scientific term for this line. They call it a quasi-linear convective system. Remember that if you're ever on Jeopardy and they ask you. But it's just a line of strong to severe thunderstorms. Within these lines, sometimes you can get these brief spin-ups, and that's exactly what we've seen. Every tornado warning that we have had tonight hasn't necessarily been one that's lasted very long. These can be situations where a tornado does spin up, it touches down briefly, it lifts, and then it's gone. Now, we haven't gotten a confirmed report of a tornado yet. And I'm not going to say that we're definitely going to in parts of Lawrence County. But in this area, if you turn back on the storm reports, we had some of those wind reports in there. So there was the tree down on Rabbit Trail Road, but this is the one that I think is a little bit more concerning. Maybe a little bit more indicative that something may have touched down there. When you're talking about many trees down on one area, the National Weather Service will go out, and what they'll do is they'll do a damage survey. Dan kind of alluded to this earlier. It might be a little difficult with, some of the areas that saw a lot of icing. This area of Middle Tennessee didn't have the worst of the icing. That was just another hit we took to our tower, by the way. These areas didn't get terrible icing in comparison, so it might be a little bit easier for them to determine whether or not it was a tornado touchdown or whether it was some straight line winds in excess of 70 miles per hour. They'll kind of look at the damage, and if it is a lot of tree damage that they're looking at, they'll look to see how the trees are laid out. If they're all kind of swept down in one direction, then it was straight line winds. However, if you have trees down in opposite directions, it's because of the twisting and turning of the winds from a tornado. So that's how they'll determine that, and that will most likely be done tomorrow. It's not going to happen tonight. They're not going to get out there, but my guess is they'll go out tomorrow afternoon. By about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we should be able to go and see which one it was, whether it was straight line winds or a spin-up tornado. The question is, which office will go out there. I think the National Weather Service in Nashville will go out there, Dan, to assess that. I don't think that's Huntsville's territory. So it'll be interesting, though, because it's the same storm. It'll probably be something where they kind of have to almost work together because you have the tornado confirmed that was down in Florence. So you're going to have to just kind of see where things stand there. But like we said earlier, we've had wind damage reports up and down the entire area. And now the spots we're looking at are east of 65. So you're in the clear in Nashville, Clarksville, Waverly, but the lightning's not done yet simply because hang on a second. All right, the National Weather Service, the emergency management in Lawrence County is reporting several houses destroyed on Smith Road near Bonnertown. Responders report destroyed by a tornado. Okay, so that's not confirmed by the National Weather Service, but that's an area that we're definitely going to have to send some crews out. Our hearts go out to them. We wish the best. But it's what we just talked about. If that it was in fact a tornado touchdown, then it was very quick, but certainly enough to cause some problems here. And within this line, it's not out of the question that we can't get another spin-up tornado. So the line itself is mainly going to be focused on straight line winds at this point. There's another hit to our tower. That's the second one within 5 minutes. So this is why I keep telling you that even on the back side of this, if I turn the lightning back on, you'll probably see that there are still some lightning strikes back here, but more of a cluster of lightning between Lafayette into Lebanon. That's moving through. Well, it's going to get to parts like Putnam County, Gainsborough, Salina. It looks like we're going to miss out on at least the worst of it for now. But at all these areas that are east of 65, like Gainsborough, McMinnville, you get down to areas like Smithville, Alexandria, Carthage, Auburntown, Woodbury, Bradyville. All of these spots were mainly focused on the straight line winds, but anywhere within this line, it's very easy to get a brief spin-up tornado. It's not a very high risk, but it's still there, and we've seen it happen multiple times already this evening. So we're getting very heavy rain still in Murfreesboro, but the worst of it's coming to an end. Maybe it's a little bit more moderate than it is heavy. Where is this? This looks like quite the flutter. Okay, that is Murfreesboro. So yeah, it does confirm the rain has lightened up a little bit. It's maybe not as windswept, but there's probably some ponding in some of these areas. If there's some spots with really poor drainage, then that's going to be an area to watch closely. Sparta, Spencer, down through McMinnville. We are quiet right now. We have this light rain out ahead of all of this, but there's that heavier rainfall that's going to work its way in, and more of an untapped environment of the atmosphere, so it still has a lot of energy throughout it. You get up to Cookeville as well. And you get up into these higher elevations, too. I think the wind can become more of a problem. You know, you're several hundred feet higher in elevation, so the wind becomes a little bit more of a factor the higher you go up, as opposed to being a little bit farther down in elevation. So that'll be something to watch closely as well. And these are they still moving 45 miles per hour at this point, Dan? Because I think they're starting to crawl a little bit slower, it almost looks like. They have to be.
You know what? Let's find out. Let's just do a new storm track or storm assessment here. So let's choose, just so we get all our storm tracks right, because the atmosphere is definitely changing. So here's the leading edge, and then we back it up 30 minutes, and then we'll measure. So there's 30 minutes. Ignore that warning identification. And then we'll measure, and it looks like the line in 30 minutes time has moved. So it looks like it's moving east at 35. The line is moving east at 35.
Okay, so definitely slower, about 10 miles an hour slower than it was about an hour ago, because it was going 45.
Yeah, we had the cells moving northeast at 45, but I did the due east movement, okay. So it's 35, yeah. So we see that. I want to take you up here. I want to take you up to Hartsville. This is a little concerning, where we have, it looks like, an intensifying bow. So you see this on the north side of Smith County. Let me take this down to a new picture every minute and lapse it for 15 minutes. Here it is. So right there, you see how the pinks are sort of trying to shoot out a bow. This could be indicative of an area that's going to get some pretty good wind damage, or it could be getting some pretty solid wind damage now. And I'll take a look at the wind speeds. Dixon Springs getting the worst of that right now. Let's see what kind of wind speeds we see with that. Looks like 60. All right. So nothing we haven't seen yet tonight, but that's the strongest wind up in that area. So very interesting. We'll have to keep our eyes on you up there, Dixon Springs. Not seeing much in the way of rotation. Some good news there, as all this is showing a little pocket of intense lightning, concentration of lightning. Tornado watch canceled for Davidson, Lawrence, Murray, Robertson, Sumner, Williamson. So we're making progress. Let me turn off the radar just for a moment and turn on the watch. Let's do that real quick. So bear with me a second as I make some changes. Watch. And then let's turn off the radar and get it out of the way. All right. That is our existing watch in the yellow. So Giles, Marshall, Rutherford, Wilson, Trousdale, Macon, Allen County points east. So I'd say we're done with 3/5 of the area, and we still have about 2/5 of the area to go. But we're making progress in seeing this stuff get out of here and seeing this stuff wind down. I am very curious about the rain totals. So let's look at those just to see how we've been accumulating rain. I know we need rain, but too much is never good. So 24-hour rain. Ooh, looks like quite a bit. Now, sometimes you get something called hail contamination, where hail, that actually legit hail falls, and it makes it seem like you just got totally blasted by rain. But just because the radar sees ice, there could be some hail contamination here. That is a possibility. I think we had some big hail reports before here as well. Let's just turn on the local storm reports and see if we did. I don't see anything that looks like it was a major hail report a little farther south. So 2 to 3 inches, almost 4 inches of rain in this part of the area.
Luckily, it hasn't rained a whole lot in that area.
Say again?
Luckily, it hasn't rained a whole lot in the last couple of weeks. Otherwise, that'd have been a flooding problem.
Yeah, no question. So, and that continued. It was one cell that caused those problems. It continued farther north. Why am I not able to move this thing? Here we go. It continued farther north into much of Murray County, parts of Williamson County, so Spring Hill, and then it sort of fell apart. That storm system fell apart. By the way, we go back to our regular radar view. Here is the latest positioning and distance from the Cumberland Plateau. Well, not the Cumberland Plateau. Distance from Crossville. We are 55 miles away from Crossville for the leading edge. So if it's moving east, the whole line is moving due east at 35, not the individual cells, but the whole line. That will put it into your area in about 90 minutes. So, yeah, 1:15, 1:30. All right, we have an update on power outages. So let's see that. Katie Beth, our producer, in the back tonight. We've got a lot of hands on deck. Okay, NES has still a little more than 3,000 people without power. Middle Tennessee Electric, nearly 1,800 without power. CEMC, nearly 2,500. Is that Clarksville? Cumberland Electric, all right. All right, CDE 1,700. Yeah, so terrific, thank you. So we have, looks like we have, almost 10,000. I'm doing my math right. 3,500, 6,500, a little more than 9,000 probably. That's not too bad. I mean, again, if you have no power, it's terrible, it's annoying, but it could be a lot worse given the system we had tonight. Looking at trim some of the tornado watch, so we just saw that. Need to watch some of these counties in southeast. Warren County has a new severe thunderstorm warning, the whole county pretty much, except for the southeastern sliver, until 12:45 for an hour. Is Coffee County. Putnam County still not in it. Half of Jackson County is, or a third of Clay County is, and South Central Kentucky is as well. So this is much more so a solid line than it was at any time tonight. I mean, the leading edge is almost perfect as it goes from South Central Kentucky straight down and through here. And so what that means is the tornado threat is a lot lower and the damaging wind threat is unchanged. The hail threat is lower. Significant rain threat is at least as significant as it was before, if not maybe a little higher. I know we got 3 to 4 inches back and through here. We're not going to touch that for the rest of tonight. No one's going to get that much, but there easily could be some solid 2.5 inches in through here. Oh, absolutely. We have viewer videos from earlier tonight. pardon me, it's lightning in Colombia earlier tonight. So, wow, this must be time lapse, or maybe it's not. That's just incredible.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. That is excellent. More lightning in Colombia, different video. What a storm. Colombia had multiple rounds, though, and gave them the opportunity for just the substantial sightings. Hail in Dixon. Pardon me, you can see it bouncing there. Now, this hail didn't look too big, but near Dixon before, I think we had golf balls, not golf ball, we had ping pong ball size hail. This looks to be more nuisance hail. Okay. Oh, good videos. Thank you all for submitting your videos. Again, the easiest and best way to do it for us to get it on TV most quickly is the WSMV-4 weather app. All right, that truck is beneath the carport, beneath the overhang, and protected. Good call there. Oh, we have Stefano's video. Stefano.
I'm in.
All right. So when Davidson County, the western side, was getting hit earlier, he said, Dan, I'm going to go see what we got. And it was perfect timing because at that moment, the station lost power. And so you could see the gusty wind. You know, who would ever want to be driving in that? Just terrible. And then that's it.
And like I told you,
yeah.
I didn't hear any lightning from that, so it had to be the wind. You know, there's no way it was...
Sure.
No way it was a lightning strike. And then our loud generator kicked on. It cuts off before the of the generator because it just... But it happened real fast, and that wind, that light pole that you're seeing there too, it was really leaning at one point.
Yeah.
We were all kind of watching it, just waiting to see if it was going to come all the way down. But you have all these tree limbs that are... The thing is and you talked about this with your video, with the ice storm, not only did it knock down a lot of trees and tree limbs, it also weakened a lot of them as well. So you don't really necessarily know what trees have been maybe not completely uprooted, but maybe they were just kind of compromised a little bit. And some tree limbs, too, that maybe kind of were barely hanging on from the ice storm that hadn't gotten trimmed because they weren't an immediate problem. Now they become that problem when these gusty winds come through, which is probably why we've gotten so many power outage reports in Davidson County. Even though not everybody saw, the 70-mile-per-hour winds, 50 miles per hour is enough to topple down. There's just the weakness of all that.
Yeah, no question. And now that we have that line, look at the southern extent of that line, though. That's interesting where it is so much more fragmented than it was earlier tonight in Lincoln County, getting into Moore County, so down around Tullahoma. I mean, that is just looking like little pockets of moderate to heavy rain as opposed to an organized band of storms.
Yeah. Let's go. I'll switch back to
just totally falling apart.
Yeah, I think you're right. It definitely still has the heavy rain component, maybe some hail, but other than that, I mean, these downstream warnings that are being issued, these warnings that are so far out, are just simply because these storms still have a history of producing damaging winds, so that's still going to be the focus. And the lightning strikes are still hanging on pretty tough, too, but they've dropped a lot. And normally we can kind of use the lightning strikes, at least somewhat. It's not exact, but somewhat as a gauge here as to the strength of these storms in general. So the lightning strikes are dropping a little bit. And especially with that line that cell that's now north of I-40 in Cookeville. So let me see if I can slow things down. I'm going to take you to that area so we can get a better look at it. Let me just slow this down just a second. Okay, so they're still issuing, again, they're just reissuing these tornado warnings out ahead of this line. So it's actually this storm that we're looking at right now that the tornado warning, or I'm sorry, the severe thunderstorm warning, I should say, has been issued downstream of this. So I'm going to click that off for a second, but you can see the lightning strikes drop pretty dramatically in this particular cell. So if I really slow things down and we play it through, watch the lightning strikes. They were at 172, and now they're all the way down to about 108. So you've lost a good 70 lightning strikes, which is a pretty decent sign here that, this line may be weakening a little bit. These could still obviously have some very gusty winds. Lightning is not a complete identifier that these storms are totally out of the picture because they can still pulsate. We can still see some changes to that. But this is the latest severe thunderstorm warning, and I do believe the camera that you guys have up, that's Cookeville, is it not, or am I mistaking that? Okay, yes, it is Cookeville. So there's that line. Let me see how fast this was actually moving. This one is only going, well, it's going 45 miles per hour, it says. So let's do that. I'm gonna do 40 though, because we did that little math session earlier. It says it's moving perfectly east. So let's go 42 is fine. Okay, so there's that severe thunderstorm warning that was issued out ahead of this main line. The current time is 1:52, so Granville, it's right on top of us right now. Haydenburg at about 11:56, so in about the next 4 minutes. DeKalb County High School at midnight. Jackson County High School just after midnight. Gainsborough the same. Smithfield about 12:04. The upper end of this, Upperman High School at 12:06, and Center Grove at about 12:08 as well. And then obviously you start to talk about areas like Sparta and Monterey and Jamestown, and eventually this will get to Crossville as well. So we're not ignoring our friends in the Cumberland Plateau whatsoever, and we know as these storms move through, they're going to impact you just as they've impacted everybody else in Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. So this will be something to continue to watch. Right now, it seems like that threat of spin-up tornadoes has certainly backed off quite a bit. It may not be completely gone right now, but it's definitely one. I think if we're going to maybe see another tornado warning, it would probably be farther to the south, more where these storms don't look quite as well of an organized line. You can see kind of those notches in these storms that are in there. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're rotating, but it does mean that they have some good inflow to them. And you could get a quick spin up. So don't be surprised if there's maybe another tornado warning or two before the night is out. But I really don't think it's going to be that much of a problem for us anymore compared to what it was the last couple of hours. The National Weather Service really seems to just be focused on this main line of storms. And by the way, there's still some lightning behind all of this. So if you look farther to the west, we still have lightning strikes back to Linden, maybe as far as Waverly. You still have a lot of lightning in Gallatin, Nashville, down through Columbia. Lawrenceburg still has a lot of lightning as well. Of course, most of it is clustered in this main line, but if you're just kind of out and about whatsoever through this midnight hour, you're still going to see some good lightning as we hear some thunder here in the WSMV-4 studios. Let me turn on the hail detector. I want to take a look at our storm threats. Hail was a pretty big component in these not that long ago. It doesn't seem like it is at this point. So these pink colors would indicate hail size. Again, these aren't exact, but I mean, your pea-sized hail, maybe dime-sized at the biggest. So the hail component really is dissipated. It's really just the wind right now. I don't see any signs of rotation in any of this, so we're just really focused on the gusty wind component. Several severe thunderstorm warnings still up and down Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. All of those are in the Cumberland Plateau. If you've been waiting up in areas like Nashville, Gallatin, Laverne, even Murfreesboro now, you are in the clear. You can head to bed. Columbia, Lawrenceburg, you just have some rain, some rumbles of thunder. The severe threat is long gone. If you're watching in Cookeville, McMinnville, Manchester, Crossville, Jamestown, and just make sure you're staying weather ready. Keep those alerts on your phone. Hopefully you have the WSMV-4 weather app. That'll help with any alerts that you need. If you have to head to bed for whatever reason, just make sure you're staying alert and that you have those alerts ready to go. We're going to stay with you here for a couple more minutes here on WSMV-4. Watch these storms head into the Cumberland Plateau. Right now, it's just damaging winds that are the main concerns. I think most of these storms, and by the way, the wind has kind of backed off on these warnings. It's only warned for about 60 miles per hour now. Most of these severe thunderstorm warnings were warned at about 70 miles per hour. So it certainly backed off a little bit. It doesn't mean that this cannot continue to cause problems. We can still see power outages. We can still get some downed tree limbs from this. Flooding is not that big of an issue. We talked about how much rain we've seen from this. Let's take a look at how much rain is actually sitting in these storms themselves. We can actually look at the rainfall rate. So let me get into some of the heavier pockets. I'm going to turn off the lightning as well. Now, when you see these numbers, keep in mind the storms are all moving. So you're going to see these crazy rainfall rates of 7, 8, close to 9 inches per hour. All that tells us is that this rain is coming down at an extremely heavy rate. Because these storms are moving at 45 miles per hour, you are not getting 8 inches of rain. If they were sitting over top of you for an hour and they did not move, then that would be the case. But that's not the case, and they're moving here. And by the way, the wind advisory is still continuing. Let me go back and see if I can't pull that up, because I think this is something else that we need to consider. Yeah, so this wind advisory, this means that even on the backside of these storms, even though these storms have wrapped up, the environmental winds are still very gusty behind all of this. So the wind advisory of 45-mile-per-hour gusts can continue to cause problems. We saw some reports of wind damage earlier before these storms even came through. So the problem would now be if you do have a very saturated ground with this, and you have these gusty winds that push up to 45 miles per hour, maybe a tree is just barely hanging on from the gusty winds that came from the storms, all the way through 7 a.m., we can still see some problems with this wind. And this is all because the colder air is coming in on the backside of it. So it really looks like that we'll get out of the severe wind phase, but not be totally done with it through the next several hours beyond that into the morning. And that could still cause issues for the morning commute. These are our low temperatures for tomorrow morning. Keep in mind, it was well in the 70s today. We've been very warm, and now all of a sudden we're not again.
Crazy. Stefano, that's the air temperature. Look at the wind chill. Look at the wind chill. So you can see it coming in tonight.
Yeah.
And then you can see it 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So the people who were in Florida for spring break and they had 80s, come back to this. And when you come back from a trip, you may not be dialed into your local forecast right away.
Yeah.
And so if they're not aware that this is coming, this is going to be a shocker in the morning. 20s and teens tomorrow afternoon, 20s for the wind chill. And then Tuesday morning, single digits and teens. So just unbelievable cold coming in. And as you mentioned a number of times tonight, flurries and snow showers. Now, the air temperature during the day tomorrow, I think, is still hanging in the 30s above freezing for almost everybody, except for the highest elevations, maybe 32 or 33. But even if you're at 36 or 37, if you get a little burst of snow on an elevated surface, like something made of metal, like a grill, an uncovered grill outdoors, you could get a little dusting. Yeah. So even in Davidson County, there could be a little dusting. On the Cumberland Plateau, with a little help from a westerly wind, we call it just a little upslope effect, you could get as much as 1 inch of snow tomorrow there. That would be the exception. Most of us not to see that, but just be aware that that is a possibility with this system as it moves on by. So, but the rain, more to track.
Yeah.
A few severe thunderstorm warnings. Tornado threat looks like it's lower.
Certainly is. Not done, but it seems like that threat has really fallen off significantly more than it was even 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, and so we'll watch it through the overnight. We're going to send it back to programming, and it will give you occasional updates right here on WSMV-4.